I want to start with a question for you all. I asked it at the beginning, so I'm coming back to it. What does strength mean to you? This is the interactive bit. Jane, what does it mean to you?
Being able to do something that somebody else can't, so you feel stronger.
Okay, love that. Did you have an answer, Jane? I'll let you think. Focus, we like that. Josh, what does it mean to you?
Doing stuff I don't want to do, I think.
Yeah?
Getting stuff done.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of what Dan said there. Go for it.
Consistency.
Consistency. We love that. That's come up again. What else? Prabs, what is it to you?
Trying not to be defeated. It's really easy to let the inner voice defeat you. So as long as you can uncheck yourself once in a while,
Yeah.
because it's really easy to let yourself get defeated.
So it means something different to all of us, doesn't it? Dan talked really well and displays, doesn't he, the physical side of strength. And he also talked about the mental and the emotional. And I think that's what society really kind of pushes on us, doesn't it? That physical side of strength. It's force, it's go get it, it's goal, it's achieve, it's momentum. Even our bleeding emojis have muscles. What is that about? So we often think that strength, it roars. It's loud, it's out there, it's got this power behind it. But also, particularly something Prab said, and for other people here as well, maybe it's something more subtle. Maybe it whispers, it's quieter than a roar. Maybe that's your version. Certainly for me, I've had an evolution of how I relate to strength, and I want to share a bit of my story, just a little bit of my story with you today. And it definitely involves this, letting go. But it didn't start like this. Anyone know who that is?
Eddie Hall.
Yes! Spot the English people. Eddie Hall. Is he still Britain's strongest man?
No.
He was.
No,
He was for a number of
he's
years.
an Instagram guy.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he still trains a lot. He does a lot of things, He does the Iceman thing. I'm not sure you know anything about the Wim Hof.
Of course.
He's huge into that. Yeah. But yeah, no, not anymore. No.
So this brings back childhood memories for me. Me and my dad squished up on the sofa Saturday night watching World's Strongest Man. To show you how old I am, it was all the Icelandic. You're probably too young for that. Do you remember all the Icelandic? Yes! They were all smashing it. And we'd watch that. Did they show it in Malta?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think so.
So we'd sit watching that and we'd be like, we're watching them and they're dragging these ruddy great anchors. They're pulling trucks, literally like 10-ton trucks. They're pulling them, crossing the line. They're picking up these great big atlas balls, ruddy great chunks of marble, putting them on stands. And we'd sit there watching them. Are they going to make it? Are they going to drop it? Lots of suspense, lots of adrenaline. An absolute, the epitome of strength, of a display of strength. And that's what strength meant to me growing up. That's the example I had. What I didn't realise was that I was carrying something too. I was carrying a lot of expectations. Who else here has a lot of expectations on them still? We all do, right? So no one in my family had been to university, so I had the expectation. I knew didn't know what university was, but I knew from being this big that I was going to university. That had been decided for me. There was no choice. So I had that expectation on me. And it was a lot of pressure. And also there was a lot of perfectionism growing up. I was a British ballet champion by the time I was 12. You don't get there, like Dan will know, without consistency and without actually a lot of perfection. Do it again, do it again, do it again better. Lot of pressure. So I was carrying a lot, but not complaining, served me really well. I got myself a place at Oxford University, and that was a time when people like me, I'm from the north of England, comprehensive, working class town, people like me didn't go to Oxford. That was for the posh kids. That was for the privately educated kids. That's where they went. But I knew from being about 10 that I wanted to go there, and I made sure I got myself a place there. And then afterwards, because I hadn't had enough punishment and enough pressure, possibly wanted to show how strong I was, I ended up here. American investment bank called JP Morgan. You may have heard of it. And this is literally, aside from the fact that's a bloke, that's literally was my life for 11 years. Numbers, data, I mean, I am a geek. I know I don't look like one, but I am a geek. Numbers, data, fast-moving, fast-paced kind of markets, moving all the time. This isn't like dealing with Mars bars where the price of a Mars bar this week is going to be the price of a Mars bar next week. These markets, as Patrick will know, move minute to minute. And in terms of how strong you had to be, the pressure that's on you, if you want to go to the loo, you run. And you run back. You do what you got to do, and then you run back. Because if somebody calls while you're off the desk, someone else, one of my competitors, one of my other salespeople, they're going to get that deal. They're going to make that money. So I can't afford to miss a moment on that desk. And to give you an insight into my life, has anybody ever been on a trading floor? Yes, Pram says. It's very intense. Actually, less so now, I think, because a lot of it's moved electronically. But this was in the 90s. I'd wake up, close your ears for this bit down. I'd have 2 cans of Red Bull for breakfast. Like, how unsustainable. And then I'd be sat at my desk, 6 a.m., 5 a.m. one day a week, analysing this data. So mental toughness, physical toughness. Anybody that knows me knows I am not, and even then, wasn't a morning person. So that took an awful, awful lot of strength. And working like that, particularly for the female body, because we have so much, I think it's something like 17 times less testosterone than a guy, it's just not sustainable. Oh, that was back. We're going that way. Oh, I just had to put this in there because I just love the power suit. That's not quite how I looked. It wasn't that stylish. But that was my form of feminism. That's the feminism I'd been brought up with. That very masculine form of feminism. So that was us in the 90s on the power suit on the trading floor. But as I say, it just wasn't sustainable. And 2006 onwards, I ended up looking like that. It wasn't that funny, but okay. Okay. I had put too much pressure on myself. Living in those levels of cortisol, those levels of adrenaline, it took its toll. And like that whisper we talked about at the beginning, my body had been whispering to me for so long. It started out in 2006. I remember I came back from a trip to South Africa, and within a month, I couldn't do my weekly gym classes that I used to do in Canary Wharf. Couldn't do that anymore. So my physical strength was abandoning me, and it really felt like abandoning. But I had a history of achievement. I wasn't going to give up. What did I do? I pulled on my mental and emotional resources, and I just bloody well carried on, because that's what you do. As you can guess, didn't work out too well for me. And by the time we got to early 2008, I'd done all the tests, I'd seen all the specialists. Apparently, according to them, I was the epitome of health. Nothing wrong with me. They couldn't work out what was wrong with me, but I couldn't stay awake. Of a weekend, I used to sleep for 22 hours. Sounds quite nice, that bit, doesn't it? It's not. It's not when that's your every day. And work at that time, fortunately, and thank God, I had a very, very, very supportive boss, bless him. I used to work 9 to 5, which on a trading floor, as you know, is absolutely unheard of. My taxi would pick me up in the morning, take me to work. I'd fuel myself with coffee and with the Red Bull, as we've discussed. Don't do that anymore, don't recommend that. And then at 5 o'clock, there'd be a taxi waiting outside of JP Morgan to take me home. It was a 15-minute taxi ride, but within 2 minutes of getting into that taxi, I was asleep. So the taxi man would have to wake me up the moment we got back to my flat. I'd go in through the door, up in the lift to the penthouse, get through the front door, wouldn't have the energy to take my coat off. Would face plant into the bed, pass out for a couple of hours till my fiancé would come home. He'd cook or bring food. I'd try and eat, and we'd do it all again the next day. So there wasn't much quality of life. Something had to change. And in fact, what changed it, I couldn't give up. That felt like failure to me. But 2 of my friends took me aside and said to me, if you don't do something, if you don't change something, if you don't take some time off, you're going to kill yourself. Nobody wants to hear that. But as I say, it felt like failure. And that's where I really had to start addressing my relationship with what strength really is. And I asked myself a question. What if? What if strength isn't holding on, keeping going? I'd worked like that. I'd done that for a year. Nothing had changed. In fact, this bit was funny. They thought I had narcolepsy because I couldn't keep myself awake. They thought I had narcolepsy. Anybody know what narcolepsy is? Where you just keep falling asleep. So they put me on amphetamines because my adrenals weren't stressed enough with all the Red Bull and all the coffee. So they stuck me on amphetamines to keep me awake. Didn't work. Still fell asleep. Even amphetamines. Body's very, very wise when you do listen to it. What if strength is letting go? And that's what I had to come to terms with. So letting go, I reframed this to myself. Letting go isn't weakness. It's where that inner strength, that quiet strength, it's where that begins. And I really had to unlearn everything that I'd spent my life thinking about strength, that had got me to Oxford, that had got me a place at JP Morgan, that had got me the British Championships age 12. The strategy I had then, that strength, this wasn't going to get me through this. That force, that power, that pressure, that wasn't going to get me through. I had to rethink. And these are some of the lessons also that I learned. Strength isn't lifting the heaviest load. I did this for too long. And also for those of you who are people pleasers, sometimes you're not just pulling yourself, you're pulling everybody else around you. That gets draining. So strength isn't in lifting the heaviest load. It's knowing when to put it down. And that's what I had to do in 2008. Great timing, actually, just before the credit crunch got out. Like, it all worked out well, so don't feel sorry for me. It all worked out really well. Here's what else I learned. Strength isn't doing it all alone. I didn't do team sports. I was always on my own. I danced on my own, performed on my own, on stage on my own. Again, that wasn't going to get me through this time either. So it's knowing when to ask for help and being brave enough to ask for help. And it's something I'm still working on. I'm a work in progress. But it's a big, big lesson for me, how strength can look different. And strength isn't in saying yes to everything. When you're one of those driven types, you want to experience everything. You want to do everything. You want to go everywhere. Sometimes it's saying no to things. Again, still working on this. So here is my question that I want to leave you with today. What's the heaviest thing you're carrying right now? Because it's probably not weight at the gym. What can you let go of? Can you embrace that inner, that quieter strength? And can you let go of that? And it really does take strength, letting go of that identity that I had built on the trading floor. I am this person, I have this career, I have these achievements. Talk about mental strength, that messes with your mind when you can't be those things anymore. And actually the most amount of strength it took was telling my mom. This beacon of feminism. How I was going to tell her that I had to leave the trading floor, but I did. And actually she understood. So what can you let go of today? Because letting go isn't weakness. It's where that inner strength begins. Thank you.